funny. The house always wins.
Time for the fireworks.
Enough playing with our food.
I need nothing to win.
Physical kill.
I am the hunter!
Wherever they run, I will find them.
Woo, we got this.
Stand in my way.
We good? We good.
Entrada em evitar Cruzeira. Bem posicionado, estraga prazeres evitável. They played safe on this. He gets one. Taret düşürecek dedim.
Encontrando la baja de Cicli, quieren tomar por baño, pero lo sorprenden desde la... But he's all alone, gets another, and there it is!
Very close. Oh, Arsenal!
Welcome on back into Valorant Challengers. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made it to quarterfinals. All of the teams that you guys are going to be watching today between both of our streams, between NSG and NSG2, are going to be the teams already moved on into the close qualifiers, and now they have a whole lot of experimentation and a whole lot of frags to show here on our screens. My name is Upmind, joined here by Sully. And yesterday was a fun one, Sully, as teams were fighting neck and neck to make it into the close qualifier.
Yeah, yesterday was a completely hectic day. We saw some of the best considered in North America fall to teams that were certainly a lot weaker. I feel like the highlight game was obviously 100 Thieves getting knocked out in the round of 16 to Carpe Nocturne. Apologies, I think it was the round of 32. They lost 2-0, 13-11 on both maps. That was one of the biggest upsets we have seen for, I feel like, quite some time. And on the other side, we also had Xset take a 2-1 victory over TSM in what was probably one of the best of threes of that night. I mean, it was an absolutely sick, I think split went to triple or double OT even. So, I mean, huge storylines being developed here. And on the other side of the bracket, you mentioned our sister stream, Nerd Street Gamers 2. We have got another banger matchup. It's going to be Sentinels versus Andbox. Andbox took down T1 2-1. So, I mean, they themselves have got a lot to prove. But today on this stream, Gus, we have got some major stuff happening.
Oh, it's going to be fun, folks. We have some replays from yesterday, and we want you to check them out because yesterday, again, some of the best plays of this tournament thus far. In between what we had none other than Mina absolutely popping off. Same thing with Jonah P in the first game between Complexity and Equinox.
Yeah, this game was exceptionally close. It felt like on both sides, it could have gone either way. We went to 3 maps, and it was that third map where Equinox ended up taking it. But I mean, Sharky, Jonah P, there were so many highlight and standout players. I feel like both the best of threes we had yesterday were an entire highlight reel in it of itself. And here was our sweet play of the day yesterday. Mina, 1 shot, 3 kills on the judge. I mean, I look back on yesterday, and I think, man, we have seen some great display of individual skill built by gamers. It looked amazing. Sentinels, we kind of put, I think, a bad rep on their name, but Sick stepped up massively, had an insane performance, dropped something about 60 kills in the 2 maps that they played. So Sentinels, they look strong moving into day number 3. Built by gamers, they went home, but they themselves look good as well.
I mean, it was a great performance by BBG for the challenge that they actually anticipated. I mean, this is really what Sentinels is all about. They love playing in these Riot tournaments, and they love going far, especially when it comes to the bigger stage. Just 2 weeks ago, they ended up having the Winter Championships, falling up short to Luminosity, who we're going to see a little bit later from the mainstream. And that last highlight right there, oh, that gets me every time. Sick, what a huge clutch. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we do have our brackets set up for the day. Top 8 ready and raring to go. Each and every one of these teams have already moved on to the close qualifiers, and now they're just starting to fight already to see who has the leg up in seeding. NRG and Gen.G, they're playing first right here on the mainstream. Xset versus Immortals over on the second stream. Sentinels versus Andbox. That is a massive matchup going forward with a ton of upset potential. And of course, later on, Luminosity versus Envy. Now, of course, first of all, we're going to be talking about NRG versus Gen.G, our showcase game up first here on the mainstream. And Sully, there's a lot to set up, but there's a couple of players to talk about in terms of how insane they've actually gotten in the last couple of weeks. But before we do that, Gen.G going through a little bit of turmoil, but certainly rebuilding.
Yeah, I mean, Gen.G in the past couple of months have made a lot of roster changes, right? You remember the original lineup with player 1 and Effie's, then they remove Effie's, add Sean. Then recently, it was kind of a question like Gen.G looked pretty good from the nights before Christmas. They recently removed player 1 and their new man, Kusta. I would say probably one of the biggest pickups. He was formerly on the CSGO lineup for Gen.G, so the transition was super, super smooth. And I'll be honest, Gen.G have looked insane. 8-0 currently in the VCT in terms of maps. They 2-0'd every single team they've played, and one player in particular that stood out in every single one of them was Sean. Statistically, he has been the best in this event. He has an average combat score of 366, an KD of 2.02, and an average damage per round of a 208. I mean, overall, Sean has been one of the most standout players for Gen.G, but I feel like in this event, he really has come out into full force.
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned Kusta, of course, moving over towards Gen.G. One of the, honestly, the most surprising moves in what has been the kind of the ins and outs of Counter-Strike to Valorant. Kusta really hanging on for as long as he could over towards CS with that Gen.G roster. With that, of course, breaking apart, he ends up still staying with the organization. It's almost too good. Also, GMD, happy birthday. He's looking for a big spot today and a big W over NRG on his birthday. But speaking of NRG, of course, we have the lineup for you guys. Daps on the other side being the shot caller, the IGL, the brain of the roster. But that's not to say that the other guys are absolutely cracked on their own in terms of not only mental skill, but just hard fragging.
Yep, Psalm, EU, Shanks, Infinite. Infinite as well, making that same transition with Daps from the CSGO world. He has been a very, very solid Sentinel. Daps playing the smokes, the IGL. He has been, I feel like him and Chet, specifically, the coach of NRG, have really formed and molded this team. And with recent changes, right, the addition of Shanks, he removed Psalm off that operator role. Psalm looks like an absolute demon now when he's on Raze, Reyna, Phoenix as well. I mean, Psalm looks insanely good. And Shanks, not to mention, you know him, one of the flashiest players, Mr. Fourth Quarter, should be coming out in full force today. And I don't even get me started on EU. He could arguably be one of the best Sovas in the North American region in comparison to maybe Sinatra or Hiko. I mean, the dude is an absolute beast when it comes to the server.
This entire team has a whole lot of specialists, but it's really the certain players that you would usually see throughout Twitter and really Twitch really playing out on their own and just pugging all the time. I like to say that about a whole lot of teams, but it's literally NRG.
Yeah.
Like Som probably gets like 800 viewers. Shanks already has like 2K, 3K. These guys are almost literally playing this game all day, every day, grinding for a reason. And NRG, just a month ago, I don't think we would be talking about them in any positive light at all. Like that is just being brutally honest.
100%.
This NRG team did not get any big wins under their belt. They were ranked about 30 plus on the spike. So if anything, this team just didn't have anything going for them. No decent tournament results or anything of the sort. And then all of a sudden, starting up at the complexity qualifier and then moving forward, they've absolutely exploded. They messed around with their roster a little bit, and they've glued together to make what is their farthest run thus yet in the Riot tournament.
Yeah, I mean, it's not to say that we wouldn't be talking about them. It's due to the fact that they've expanded their map pool. And speaking of our map pool, let's take a quick look at the maps we've got for us today. Bind, we will be kicking it off. That's the map pick of Gen.G. Haven for NRG, and Icebox being our final map. Now, this map pool, it is the best case scenario, I feel like, for both teams. Gen.G have looked good on both Bind, Haven. They're yet to play Icebox, so I'd say that's kind of the only one that's up in the air. But I think that also might come back to help them just a little bit, right? There are no VODs on Gen.G and Icebox, so NRG, they're kind of going into this one blind. But the same thing, NRG have been looking good recently, specifically on Haven. Bind as well, they've done recently well, going 9-1 with a 76% win rate overall, and they have played it in Bind every single game, or every single time in the VCT in the 4 best of 3s that they've played, and no team has gone above 13 rounds except for Dignitas. That's the only team they've lost to. So NRG and Gen.G, it is going to be the clash in this map pool.
No, absolutely. So Bind coming into this one, these two teams are a little bit tighter in terms of statistics. Like I mentioned, Gen.G with just about a 68% win rate, going 7-3. And more recently, here in the VCT, they played it a whole lot, playing 4 times and winning all 4 times. Yep. But you mentioned Icebox already. Dude, I don't know what on earth is going through the heads of Gen.G. They have never played Icebox in an official game, and then they pull it out here in VCT. We were mentioning before, all 8 of these teams have already made their way into the close qualifiers. To some of these teams, maybe now is the right time for the experimentation. Now is the time to really get some of those pocket strats out there and really start to refine them. Icebox, I mean, it really is one of the counter picks that so many teams have not developed, and it just so happens to be that one of those teams is Gen.G. Bind, however, starting things off, it's a good taste of what we get here in this series.
Yeah, Icebox being that third map is always going to be so up in the air. Again, I kind of draw back to the fact that NRG, they took down Sentinels, arguably one of the best teams in North America, possibly even the world on Icebox. We are yet to see that Icebox map really come into full force, so many question marks going in. But we're started here on Bind, NRG on the defense, Gen.G on the attack, and already we know Sean, he's gotten aggressive and he's already gotten the first frag.
Sean's still on the front lines, and he still has a whole lot of players from NRG still trying to flank on him, and indeed it happens. Psalm and Shanks, both with openings, and Shanks still looking out towards the back line, with 2 actually wanting to approach the back spawn area. EU, what on earth? Let's go beaming through the smoke with a knife, but not going to get anything out of it. This could be big for Michael, but there is a wall up in hookah. I mean, who would have expected it? NRG, they're already covering their path to really make that rotation as long as possible. And not only that, but they still have one player over towards that A side. If another teleport does go on, Shanks is here on the rotation. Same thing with that Sage teammate that put up the wall. Now they just wait out for the approach. Shanks does get one back, even then Michael from up top with a couple of right clicks has to go big on 2. Gets the headshot, but just doesn't have enough bullets to get another one into Daps. Daps wins it out in the end, and that one was looking a little bit tricky in the end, but NRG had full control in a scrappy round.
Big pickup as well. And to dive deeper into the agent composition that NRG are running, this is one that I feel like they've definitely been experimenting with, right? Infinite, obviously not necessarily an initiator. We typically see him on occasionally, I think in the past, especially during Winter Champs, he was playing the Brimstone. Daps was switching back to the Sentinel of Cypher. But this is an agent composition that they are definitely experimenting with recently, right? It's not there set in stone. And I think it's a big talking point that NRG, they're trying to diversify their agent composition. And this is a really good start. Already Infinite getting lots of information off of the blinding light. As Sam looking to contest another great blinding light, allowing him to swing. Down goes Sean, and it's a follow-up. It's GMD. Quick, clean stuff. And already it will be a trade back, but it's a 4v3 in the space already created for EU.
Yeah, no, don't know what the what the move was. Almost literally just stat padding at this point. So well done, he succeeded. As now EU is here to try to collect up a couple of frags. Michael actually gets one back. But there you go. That's the round back for NRG. The second round conversion can be actually kind of tough for a couple of teams, especially if you had Gen.G actually starting to hold W over towards that B site, but NRG had actually called that out a little bit early. So nothing too much, folks. We have Gen.G back on the rifles, and it doesn't seem like, from what I've seen them on Bind before, they tend to go for a whole lot of defaults. You see about 4 or 5 of them just on their attacking side alone, but they're starting to more or less start to tighten up towards that B site. Still some split presence though.
Yeah, early bird now as well from Infinite. Doesn't see anything, so to his knowledge, there is nobody out towards long. You said Gen.G playing the default GMD. Really gets a double there. Sam exposed by the Cypher tripwire. Goes down to Sean in an instant trade. And with NRG on the bonus, they've decided to get extremely aggressive, right? You see the wall from Daps to prevent anyone flanking them as they push short, but it hasn't worked out the way they were hoping. 3 versus 4, Gen.G account for this aggression. And with the kills that they've got, are going to take things super slow now.
Kind of have to at this point, but even then, with NRG already losing out on the first 2 interactions, they were already feeling a little bit aggressive just from the round before. I mean, nothing much to it. I mean, you win that one out, you more or less condition Gen.G to just become as safe as possible, or potentially go for a couple of desperate routes.
Yeah.
So honestly, not a bad move. It is a little bit of bonus for them too. They're going to be able to buy back into the next round. But still, with 2 over towards that A site, they still have a stellar chance at making this back. The Owl drone going to get banged out. EU still behind. Oh no, still behind that smoke, waiting up for the approach. Double satchel, and Win is there off the information to get the frag. Daps the only one here on site. Actually goes right into U-Haul. Sean doesn't spot a singular thing with the spike going down. Daps could make some noise. Indeed he does. Going to be able to get one. Now this just restricts things down to a 2-on-3. Little mini flash, but the post plan for Gen.G is not too bad.
Big wall up. That'll keep Daps at least out of the mix for now, but he needs the kill. Ooh, onto Kusta, who dances around the box. Trailblazer faking out the info, but Kusta nearly gets taken down. If maybe the Trailblazer actually leapt into him, he actually would have gone down. Now, Infinite, I think at this point is going to look for a couple of exits, but Kusta denies him 1 HP. Jeez, yeah, that Trailblazer definitely would have taken him down. NRG can concede the first round, but again, was just a bonus, so they can buy up here. And Gen.G, they don't suffer as many casualties as I think NRG were hoping for. If they could have gotten rid of Kusta, that would have made the round a whole lot more worth it.
Sure could at this point. But like we mentioned, bonus in the last round. And really it's going to come down to how clean Gen.G can get early control of some of these back choke points, because that's been their goal for a lot of these rounds. You already see a couple of players. They want to fight everywhere. Players fighting in hookah, players fighting already a little bit deeper and long, players fighting in bathroom and in short. I mean, NRG, they're as aggressive as you can get this early on into a round.
Yeah, I mean, Shanks early on went for that ult orb with the support of the Sage Wall from Daps, and that's what he's looking for. Bladestorm now out. This round could be very dangerous. We know what Shanks can do when he's got the Bladestorm in his hand. And now that Gen.G are playing Quinn on this Sage, you kind of remove that menace. Obviously, Battle Sage still really works. We've seen players like Dicey as well, I feel like, really bring the Sage up back into the meta on Bind. And Quinn, I think he's trying to adapt to that. It might catch NRG off guard, especially with the utility kit that Sage can have. But NRG, a great crossfire between Infinite and Som. These players, at least for Gen.G, are taking things still extremely slow, trying to feel out the map. Like you said, NRG have been very aggressive early on. And Gen.G are just hoping to catch somebody off guard, but nothing is being given to them. Full control towards Showers. And right now, the B site, at least in the minds of NRG, this is the only site that makes sense to take. And here they come, Gen.G. Early on, it's again Sean the double blast back. Som to hold it down. He's got 3. And finally a trade back, but it's a little bit labored.
No, it's laborious, and really it doesn't mean all too much. Kusta still left over towards the mid side. And the paranoia! Ooh. Oh my! Oh, that's wonderful. With Hookah being wide open and cleared out, the paranoia just goes hard left. Kusta doesn't expect that at all. So, wow. I mean, great patience from Som. He was actually waiting for the momentum from the satchel to really get as slow as possible for him to really start off that spray. That is a hard risk, though. The wide swings from the other players coming out from long, it's almost expected that they would come out at that point. But with nobody even spotting him in that corner, it would be hard pressed for me to say that anyone else would check that corner. Well done by Som. 3K for him, but now in this round, NRG, they still have to clean things up, because Gen.G on the SMGs, they can still make some pretty good economic damage.
Yeah, pretty solid result for NRG. I mean, like you said, Gen.G are looking for economic damage, right? Pull some guns out of the hands of NRG if you're lucky, but EU taking an early fight. I thought for a second he should have had Quinn, but I think he let go of his mouse, but a little bit too early. Nice wall up into Showers. NRG, they know that this hit is coming. Now, can Gen.G get anything? Apparently not, because it's going to be Som hopping around. He actually doesn't discover where Quinn is, and the showstopper goes to waste. This isn't too bad a round so far for Gen.G. Get another kill, and I'd say this round was 100% worth the investments you've made.
Oh, 1,000%. Still taking on the 2 frags and could potentially get more. Not only that, but of course the kills do help out with the ult orbs and whatnot. Not only that, but they got full control of it early on. So a very successful run for Gen.G, all things considered. Of course, NRG, they take back the round. But now, folks, yet another big one. The rifles coming out back for both NRG and Gen.G. And the most important thing now for Gen.G is, are they going to really focus up their efforts over towards one spot? Because just in the last round, just with the SMGs, they were really able to hold off that aggressive early push from NRG. And not only that, but Gen.G just looked a little bit more confident. Can they replicate that?
Yeah, I mean, they've got 5 ults here, so there is so much to invest. Again, we've seen what Sean loves to do. Double blast back into his site. Well, now he's got a showstopper to accommodate as well. Early aggression. They're running that bird all the way down, and they are getting so aggressive here, NRG. 3 players towards long. It's a full retake of the A site. All that Dabs has to do right now is hold down U-Haul, one of the most critical positions on this retake, but even then he realizes the tricky predicament he's in. Tripwire to watch the flank. There's Sean's showstopper. There's a TP into heaven. Now this is a free kill for Dabs. That's going to come massive into this retake.
Sure is, but even then, Shank still coming in with Michael and multiple people over towards the short area. Win in a beautiful position, but it's super off angle with Kusta actually looking over. Double from Kusta. Now both players from NRG, both isolated, but they have the angles. Kusta was already revealed a little bit early on. EU, good spot. Sean 1v2, this is where he thrives, but he needs to get this one onto Infinite to make it count, but it won't happen. NRG, it was hard fought. Gen.G, what a takeover towards that A site in the first place, actually winning out the 1v1 duels, but NRG somehow still coming out alive in the end.
Yeah, insane retake discipline as well. I mean, Daps deciding to instantly concede most of that control position up in heaven so we can get a good overarching view over everything, so we can allow his players from showers, from A short to work their way back into the site. A really well thought out retake for NRG. And this aggression, Gen.G, is something that they've got to recognize, that NRG are not going to sit around and let Gen.G take map control. They're going to proactively aggress. I mean, you already saw the TP from EU all the way into the spawn. I mean, that's outrageous enough as it is. Gen.G, they do still have 3 ults charged up, but they don't really have the guns, I'd say, to suffice around like this.
Oh, absolutely not, but they could still put up at least a little bit of a fight, especially with NRG being a little bit more isolated. But again, Gen.G, they've relied on their hard swings in a sense to really get the opening frags, and NRG, they just have really the length. They have the range. Not only that, but info. Shanks looking over towards the long area already knows that there's still one there. And not only that, but look at NRG over towards bathrooms. You talk about info, and this is all that you can get. Nothing over towards short as they shut down the lurker. Som takes down Sean. Still 2 over towards long, and now Shanks, he just wants to pad his stats. Indeed, he gets one back. He dies for his efforts, but Infinite is there to finish things up. 6-1 scoreline. NRG, they've already reached at least a good halfway point for the half, but Gen.G, again, they simply haven't impressed me thus far in terms of their hard takes.
Yeah, nothing really has been able to happen, I'd say, for Gen.G. I wouldn't say that's because we're not impressed by the hard takes. They just haven't been able to get any hard takes. I mean, NRG have been pressing so many areas of the map where Gen.G aren't putting a focus. And I think it's mainly because NRG know that they can take these 1v1 aim duels when you want to push those extremities, when you want to take the early fights and you know you can win them. Gen.G, you can't really afford to split players up and run a default. It's super risky because the odds are that NRG so far in this matchup are the better aimers, and they will take those 1v1 duels and they will win those 1v1 duels. So Gen.G, it's a risk they need to take, but it's one that is a super difficult one to come to.
Oh, certainly so. I mean, I may have been speaking a little bit too extreme in a sense, but actually Gen.G, they've had the right ideas in a sense. But yeah, no, NRG, they've just been playing the right counter in a sense here on Bind. Don't really know what it is about it. Gen.G still playing a little bit more disciplined, but with how isolated they're playing and NRG really just looking out for those early frags, it really does just come down to the 1v1s at the end of things. Of course, Gen.G, they can regroup with like 3 players, 2 players, make their way on site. Then, of course, it's just restricted and then the take just falls apart. But early on, Gen.G, most of the rounds that they're losing is just to the entries.
Yeah, NRG again being very good at those early fights. Now Gen.G, they did take a tack pause to at least sort out what they want to do. It does look like this time around they are going to try and play those 1v1s, play the game of NRG, but it is always a dangerous game. Early slow warp to prevent anyone to swing on out. Infinite does invest a blinding light to no avail, no info. And with Gen.G finally putting a little bit of utility into these extremities, they can force NRG, at least keep them from getting really that aggressive. But it does look like already a retake towards this B side, with Infinite playing in the back lines of defenders spawn. And without a Sentinel, the retake, I feel like, does get harder for NRG. I mean, in most instances where they do attempt a retake, it's because they have players already on a fast flank. But again, Gen.G adapt. They ensure that they have one player watching. That'll be Michael. Owl drone into Hookah to clear it out. They're trying to sell a fake. NRG won't take the bite. Still 4 players here and 3 grouped up for Gen.G in the showers. It's a crossfire being held with Shanks and then EU up top, right outside. This could be a very nasty surprise for Gen.G if they're not prepared.
No, this is just an insane cross, but there you go. They were ready for it. That paranoia barely connects, but even then, Shank and Som holding down the line. Kusta with one back, and still Som in a very tricky position, but has Daps here on the crossfire, ready with him and ready to go. 17 HP, but still a revival up for Win and GMD. He got the satchel, and Som able to get himself 2. Easy peasy stuff. Michael now in a 1v2, gonna get hard shocked by Daps and NRG with a 7-1 scoreline. Like you mentioned, Sully, Gen.G, they weren't ready for the smoke.
NRG looked amazing. Quick recognition. They knew the hit was coming. Infinite had all the info, or he didn't necessarily have any info, but all in his mind was, let's just play on the retake on this B site. That's all they were going for. In Gen.G, they walked right into the jaws of NRG. 4 players stacked, instant solo orb from Depths, and a follow-up with the paint shell grenade from some, the force players away. It doesn't get better than that for NRG. Gen.G down in the dumps economically have to go for another half buy, where the only rifle they've got is a Phantom.
It's unfortunate it's the hero rifle, but you know, even then, for what we're seeing from NRG, they're doing actually a really good job at just predicting where Gen.G will go. I mean, last round, of course, they had a little bit more hard stuck of an A take, and now this time it's 3 players, and Som this time, he's still fragging out at his own, getting 2 easy ones, and once again, it's going to be NRG holding W over towards B main and trying to get themselves kills. EU takes down Michael. There's one just chilling in Teleporter, and oh boy, Wayne literally had 0 chance. Are you kidding me?
2 players appear in front of his screen. No chance you're going to survive. And of course, it has to be Som. Him and Shanks have been incredible in the 9 rounds that we've seen so far. And I mean, NRG, what more can we say? They are just able to take these duels. They are so confident right now. I think that's the most dangerous thing about NRG. I've spoke that when NRG are confident, they can beat any team on any day, and we've seen that recently. But when they get maybe a little bit too confident and it turns into cockiness, things do end up getting scary. But right now, in the moment, they are as confident as can be. Som is fragging out. Shanks right behind him to support players all around. I mean, there's nothing you can do in that position as well for Quinn. So unlucky. It's like a magic trick.
Dude, it's not only like a magic trick, but it's like one of those old like James Bond movies, dude. They each had each other 6, dude. They just went through the teleporter back to back. He's like, I got your back, brother. Go, go, go. Why'd I call it a James Bond movie? Could have been like an old war movie. Something of the sort. It is what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we do have the 10th round coming up in NRG. Still trying to hold back over towards the B site. They're actually going for an early hard rotation. Although this is a default from Gen.G, they're stacking up, if I'm not mistaken, still 3 players over towards this side, 2 over towards the A side at the moment. It's a little bit weird, but Gen.G, they haven't really gone for any contacts. It's just a hard read.
I think the thing is right now is because EU, they've been dominant towards showers, right? Gen.G have barely been able to contest, and the mindset right now as NRG is, we've dominated showers so much, why would they try and attempt it again? And they are fighting for control. EU so deep, Daps able to play a nice offlane where he can drop slow orbs, try and delay, and there's the frag, the confidence from EU to find Kusta, and a triple swing. Oh my god, Quinn never stood a chance in that situation, and Daps controlling this U-Haul position as well. There's really nothing you can do right now if you're Gen.G. NRG, they've got this one unlocked, and Daps should have this frag as well. Just one player, Michael. Tricky position to be in, and against 4, they're all going to swing him in a second. Daps with the second frag of the round, and NRG 9-1. They are looking so good right now.
I mean, it's every commentator's worst nightmare. It's a little bit too many rounds to not really talk about in terms of NRG. Every round just seems like the exact same thing. NRG, they hold W. Well, they hold their line on the rifle round, sure. Gen.G goes over towards the eco. We wait for a couple of contacts, and then eventually, like Shanks or EU, they'll go over towards long. They take the first contact. Infinite gets the trade back. NRG wins another round. It's almost literally been the same formula. And Gen.G, they haven't put up a fight just yet, but wow. This could literally be their opening when NRG gets too cocky. Why not? NRG double over towards long and win. He actually gets himself the lineup with none other than a stinger. If it works, it works. NRG, they do have one of the flank though, and EU has full control of the spike from long range where the Phantom can't get anything. So instead now it's a 2-on-4.
I feel like I've just jinxed NRG. Whenever
I mean, I think we both did.
Yeah, whenever we commentate them, I always say that line where their confidence turns into cockiness, and then they end up doing stuff like that. Hopefully that trend doesn't continue. Again, they are up 9-1, so they can afford, you know, around here or there. It definitely isn't going to hurt the scoreline too much, but NRG, that was a little bit ballsy. I like how EU at least was on a very fast lane, keeping up with the trend of NRG being super aggressive, and Gen.G, they deal with it. Win good for the 2K. off of the Stinger. That was the biggest engagement that NRG ended up losing. And now it's kind of a gamble. They can maybe get a revive at the EU. I think maybe that's the plan right now, right? Daps can make that long rotation, bring EU back into the fight, or if they want to bring Sam or Shanks back in to get Shanks' Blade Storm to allow a better entry. Who knows? But this is a decent winnable situation for NRG, but it's all about this revive. There's a trip, and Gen.G, they will be prepared for the flank to come in no matter what.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like, again, they're not at least ready to go yet. They're still setting up, and that's how they set up. They get the revival, and Daps nails down GMD with a wide swing. Happy birthday, GMD. That's a rude awakening, to say the least. Kusta now over towards Hookah. Could get a wide swing from EU, and indeed he does, and he's able to get the kill back. But it's really going to come down to one, as both Daps and his teammate both get frags. But even then, Sean, he only has a Stinger, and he's putting in the work. Infinite, he tried his best, but now 85 HP left on Sean. The satchel better go off. And not only that, but the spike has been gone down for a while. Daps has to run away. And just like that, Gen.G, they went around by Sean just holding down the line.
It's again so scary for Gen.G though. Huge congrats that they pick up a round where they hardly had any guns to work with. Huge frags from Quinn and a great hold down from Sean. We praise him to be the best in this tournament so far statistically, but it hasn't been like that in this game. NRG have shut him down left and right, and I think that could be the round to get him going finally. He picks up 2 frags there to double him to 4-11, but he still needs a bigger performance. Last round of this half, and Gen.G, they need this third round. Minimize the damage, but already NRG looking to get aggressive early on. Shanks on the op. What can he get from this one?
Oh boy, of course he's gonna get something. Out from around the corner, takes down Sean, still win actually. Has the revival back, and he picks back up Sean. So the Sage v Sage, both getting resurrections 2 rounds in a row. A couple of cabbages, a couple of seekers over towards mid. Gonna be able to get a little bit of information off of that flank, but even then, Gen.G, they're still saying on fairly confident on where they are. Of course, no man disadvantage just yet, but with Kusta being really on the lookout over towards this A site, just trying to get as much info as possible. And not only that, but 4 players over towards this site, Gen.G's got to be feeling good over towards the B site. But that's if Kusta can really make some work happen. Oh boy, he's got to go for the peak now. EU has escaped. Same thing with Shanks. This might get dicey.
I think they just hopped over the trip as well. If not, EU is going to make the TP, but Infinite, all of this information. And Shanks, he's able to catch one off guard. Perfect, but again, you mentioned Kusta and that late lurk. A nice tag onto the backside of GMD, but it's not going to net them a kill just yet. They will take control of U-Haul, and it was Kusta. This position, you foreshadowed it, and well, it's come to fruition. Michael, ready for the flank.
Ooh.
Are they prepared? They're about to walk into each other. EU with his back turn. This is an easy kill, but they will be wary of the flank now. 4 versus 4 and a showstopper that Song ends up shutting down. 10 seconds left in the spike. It's barely made its way to the site, and Shanks has just won them the round. 4 kills on the Blade Storm, and NRG have double digits.
We only get a glimpse of it, but you can already feel the glory. Beautiful from Shanks. Just toes the line between himself and Kusta, makes his way towards the back line of Long, where again, Gen.G has no info, and instead, NRG, they play the patient game, they play the long game, and it works out because of a man named Shanks. Both him and Sam, the dynamic fragging duo, man, I mean, they've gone huge. It's a 10-2 scoreline going into the second half. And again, although he flicked away, you could tell that Sam had to pull an insane flick to actually get that kill. And not only that, but Shanks with a cleanup.
Yeah, insane stuff from NRG in the first half. Now, Gen.G, this is their better side statistically in recent times, right? 60% win rate. But then on the attack, they had a 58% win rate. So the difference doesn't vary by much. NRG, they've been looking really good. Or apologies, those were the stats for NRG. So on the attack, they are just as good. Gen.G, they will take this moment. I think it could be attack pause, I'd imagine, right? You need kind of that mental reset. You've got Blank behind you as the coach, kind of sorting things out mentally. You really need to reset here. And it is going to be a difficult ride. You're on the defensive side. It's going to be a lot easier. But due to the style of NRG, you know how aggressive they can get. You know this is not going to be an easy fight.
Certainly not. They're just biding their time. Round's about to start, and Gen.G, a 4-man B stack. This could be absolutely nuts, but again, NRG has most of their bodies over towards the A site, and so much noise is being made over towards B. It's literally just Som. Som taking away all this attention, all of this pressure, all of the players from NRG just staying away from that teleporter area, staying away from bathroom, just so they could get the first contact on A. Som is not only going to get a first contact and a first pick, but also going to bait out a whole lot of util that is so successful for Som. And not only that, but Gen.G, down a man, have to make this full retake.
Charges.
Big play from Som, and the fact that he gets out of there alive is outrageous. Like you said, a whole lot of utility, and I'd say two of the biggest parts of this retake. Slow war baited, wall baited, paranoia baited. How do they even go about this? There are no flashes left here for Gen.G, and a whole lot of players grouped up in U-Haul. Som with this lurk, Som with this late rotation, and the wall is up. Everyone's got their backs turned to him, and Som had a firing range. He fires down range and is only able to get one, but there's not much you can do here if you're Gen.G. They are bringing it back. 2 versus 2, a wide swing from one, and it is going to be Quinn to take the round, but is there time? It's going to be so close, and there isn't. 2 seconds, and the wall is what saves them. Huge engagements, and everybody goes down, but NRG pick up the round.
Kusta thought he was safe too. He tried to escape through the teleporter, but putting that into the larger angle, what a performance from Win. Again, Gen.G absolutely needed that pistol round. They still have a little bit of economy from that round to really have a leverage on top of NRG, purely because of the fact that really both of these teams are going to be at around the same angle or at about the same level.
Yeah.
So if anything, this should be the round to look out for. Gen.G, if they lose this, it is almost literally wraps. NRG still with a little bit more even of an approach, but Gen.G, they're going all in over towards the long area. Double up, but double satchel on sight, and Win is there to help out. Beautifully done by Gen.G early on, as now NRG need to make their own way back.
Full buys worked out really well for them so far. Lots of info. Shanks recognizes the threat to the right, but GMD, perfect swing. He gets the frag on back. 2v3 now. It is Daps. It is Infinite. Bigger brains of this NRG side have got to pull off a massive clutch, and those paint shell grenades have done a whole lot of damage. Now Daps up close, gunned down by the Stinger because of the faster fire rate. Now Infinite with 49 HP. A shame you can't heal yourself, but this round goes the way of Gen.G. The force buy ends up working, unless Infinite again can pull off an insane 1v3, but the probability is probably super low. You know, I'm no mathematician, but it doesn't seem like the odds are in his favor.
Doesn't look like it.
30 seconds left.
I did the math
I
too.
kind of
I did
failed
the math as well.
Yeah, no, I kind of failed calculus in high school, so I can't really refute that or approve of that, but it is what it is. I don't know, big number, little number. It does seem like NRG doesn't have that great of a chance, and actually Infinite, he would be better off actually saving up this round or potentially trying to get that last second plant for a little bit more cash in the bank. 5 seconds left, 4 seconds left, barely going to be able to get it. And actually with an angle in, can't get it. Barely on, but there you go. Gen.G, they have themselves a 3rd round, and like I mentioned before, with both teams really being able to force up at that last round, it was anyone's game. It just had to come down to Gen.G really trying to tighten things up and actually trying to play at NRG's own game. They were the ones that forced out the back choke points. They were the ones that forced out the interaction within the first 10 seconds of the round. You saw that a whole lot for NRG in the first half, and Gen.G just pulled one out of NRG strat book.
No force up here for NRG. They're going to try and stay as economically stable as possible. When you've got a lead this big, you can afford to lose some rounds. You don't really need to give them the economic ball. Don't let them get it rolling. But it's still the same NRG. Fast and aggressive. Straight on in. Som with a double shorty and a blast pack to entry. Kusta now has to pivot around the Cypher cages, and he alone has stopped NRG in their tracks. Those Cypher cages go up. And NRG's speed goes down. Great bird going out, but Sean with a big paint shell grenade is going to clean up 2 frags. EU now in a 1v3. Again, economic damage is the name of the game. How many exits can he get from this one? Okay, might get something, but double swing goes in. Gen.G fine round number 4. And NRG, they did what they could.
Yeah, some of these rounds are getting super awkward.
Yeah.
It's going to be interactions like that where we just have to be like, huh. Right, moving on. With Gen.G now, still holding on to a bye. You mentioned that it was realistically one player holding on the back line for the NRG side. I guess so, right? Gen.G, they still had a little bit more control. It was Kusta, actually, never mind. But at least now going forward, NRG, they're still going to be maintaining still that scattered early start. But never mind, they have that scattered early start purely for the sound, purely for the utility. You have a Raze throwing out a nade over towards mid. Now they attract the 3 people over towards B. They maintain them there. 1 way over towards short 2. And not only that, but they want to maintain it. They're going to keep it going. But a dash in, Shanks still in the front lines trying to find out Kusta. Beautiful nade from Psalm 2, taking down his opponent on top of U-Haul. Still, Kusto around the corner with the SMG. Can't get anything. NRG now in a man advantage. But Sean, man, who's been hard fragging as far, still with a massive opportunity to bring his team back into 3-on-3.
It is so difficult, Gen.G. They couldn't lock down U-Haul. And NRG are investing everything into this control. Slow warp down, Paranoia ready to force them away even further. But the wall goes up, and so does the revive. NRG, they've got their backs against the wall. Gen.G are putting on pressure, and they need to retake these positions. Sean with a big frag. You mentioned his name. Well, there he is. But here comes the showstopper. Nothing connects. And Sean with 4. Gen.G survive for another round and keep NRG off of 12.
It's literally just Sean 4K off the retake. I mean, come on, right? It's gotta be yet another one of those MVP making performances. There's a reason why he has one of the best stat lines in the entire tournament. And Sean, I mean, really his entire team hasn't been able to win out any of these rounds solo. But now he's been hard impact fragging. Not in terms statistically though. Really, throughout this entire game, it's just been the NRG show. Of course, Sam and Shanks both at 20+, and it's all been too easy for him. High ADR too. But now going forward, Gen.G, they're picking up momentum. They're picking up steam. I don't know if we've seen this steep of a comeback in Tier 1 play, but I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
Well, you know, every comeback story starts with some insane play to get them back into the game, right? This is exactly what Gen.G needed. A 4K off of Sean. A weird execution because it kind of leaves Daps alone because he's kind of just chilling behind the wall like, what do? I have to break this now. Gen.G, the op from Quinn to lock it down. The Sage operator still tried and true from the beta days. Shanks looking for early control. The Trailblazer to lead him on in. It's like following your spirit animal, but Shanks might be led to his death. 4 players here. And a 5v4 retake.
Oh, this is actually a massive chance for NRG. Double elbow, and Sean, he's not going to be able to get anything off of it, but instead the Vandal's out. Evade Shanks, and the Knives going to be able to get a second still 2 over towards elbow. Massive swing from Sean, and this is yet another one for him to pad his stats. Still another one for him, and he gets the 4th. Why not Sean? I was saying earlier, this guy doesn't exactly have the stats to back up what has been a crazy half for him, but he gets 4 more. He's stat padding, and Sean is going nuts.
Dude, this is what you need. Sean finally coming alive. We hyped him up. The best in this event so far, statistically #1. And boy, he is proving it here. When his team needs him most, he comes up huge. 8 kills between 2 rounds. The dude is having a game and a half right now, at least in this second half. Quinn, great shot, great delay as well. I mean, it's a team effort for Gen.G on the retake, and Sean is just there to pick up the kills. 51 HP to find the final 2. Gen.G, you said we haven't seen too many comebacks in this level of play. Well, I think this is one in the making right now.
There.
Revealing area.
Again, an absolute banger thus far from Gen.G, but there's still so much work to pull off. I can't exactly call it possible just yet. Still 5 rounds separating these 2 teams, but I mean, as I say that, Gen.G, they've already pulled off that equivalent, and not only that, but this half has been relatively easy for them. NRG, they're finding themselves in almost a pit in a sense, almost the same that Gen.G were going into as they try to switch up their approach almost every round, and it just doesn't work out in their favor. And this time, NRG actually, they have this site for free. Kusta, Michael, both getting frags. Still some up front with a trade back. GMD just hiding in cubby, no check at all. And just like that, GMD on his lonesome. 7-11. Again, off that take, Gen.G, not exactly scattered, but they were all just very desperate for those entry frags. Gen.G, they didn't give those at all. They were just waiting up in the back lines, waiting for NRG to approach, almost going in more of a retake scenario, but still having decent control site.
It's been a rough one for NRG. At one point, this game looked done and dusted. The second round conversion for Gen.G, and it's been 4 in a row after, 5 in total in this second half. They've brought it all the way back. Still a lot more work to do, but it is a really good start. EU with an early smoke. I didn't deny info on the A site, but Gen.G, they've invested 3 players over towards this B side. A revive available for NRG, but pressure out towards long. Sean is here, and you know this is going to be a dangerous fight. Smoke in their face, preventing them from seeing their opponents through it. And NRG, this is unorthodox, I would say, at least from our perspective. We know them to be so fast. They are slowed down, they are tempered, and they are creeping on through. Slow warp, and they've trapped Michael, but can they get anything? No! They struggle to find it. Shanks goes down, and Sean is here to save the day. He's pulled out the showstopper and is looking for more. He's got the frag right after himself. He goes down, and it's up to Infinite to win a 1v2 clutch.
Still 61 HP. The man could pull it off, I would like to think, but ooh, the tightest of angles with a Vandal of all things.
So
Still
tricky.
very confident with it. That's that intuition of Infinite. Only just a confidence, really. You can even nail a headshot in that tight of an angle, but in we go. Ooh. Players are starting to swing more and more out of B main, and Infinite actually backs out to be long. Yeah, no, there you go. There's not only going to be a wall, slow orb, most likely a cage too. Infinite just has no chance of making his way through. But the defuse still hasn't gone down yet. They're still taking it and just really trying to bait out Infinite. Infinite was literally stuck between a rock and a hard place, stuck between the rock and the wall. And not only that, but Gen.G, they find themselves more or less an easy one at the end of things. But a good early performance, again, as NRG, they just can't get anything going for themselves.
Yeah, this has been a really rough half, and Gen.G, it feels like these two teams have been very momentum-based, and, well, it seems that Gen.G, they've got all the momentum on their side. NRG, not much you can really say about them. It feels like they've been struggling to find their feet, and on the attacking side, we've seen the statistics, 58% win rate and 60 on the defense. Not too much of a huge gap, 2% difference. But Gen.G right now are proving they are the better team on the defense. They've got, again, that mental strife, that single break right at the end of the half. Really, I feel like got them back into it, and that second round force buy is the reason why we're still even talking about this game right now.
I mean, you're absolutely right. I should be really trying to get more coffee at this point, but yeah, it is what it is, though, ladies and gentlemen. You do have a deep teleport coming in, but GMD still in the back line over towards Cubby, gonna be able to get one. Now it's down to a 3-on-3 as Kusta is actually opening this one up. Still one over towards the back line. Good reaction. And Gen.G now still has more control, still has the man advantage, but Kusta's ready. NRG, they still have Som ready and raring to go. Infinite getting revived. This turn from a man disadvantage to a man advantage from NRG in an instant. But win with the operator, anything is possible. Gaps are up, waiting for players to rotate on out. Not only that, but a slow orb to cut off the rotation back. So now both of these players just stuck on the front lines, and Michael finds a gap in the wall, finds a headshot, but Som, what on earth? What can he even pull off with this showstopper? It's just mal-timed. He can't get anything from it. He has to depend on the Phantom, depending on the players going in, and the wall going in. Very impromptu from Win, but Som takes him down. Now looking for a fourth to shut this all down. Spike is right in front of him. Som is the one with all the control in the world. Angles the wide swing, and Som shuts it down. Michael, he tried to pull the underhanded tactic, but couldn't get anything of the sort. Instead now, NRG, they find themselves a 12th from the clutch of Som.
Masterfully done from Som, the showstopper to force players away to try and bring out those 1v1s. And I mean, Quinn gifted him a 1v1. Som, great awareness to re-swing back into the APC, and this was the kill that decided the round. They should have gone for a double peek, I feel like. If Michael was on that wall, Som would have had much more of a difficult time, but you give him the 1v1s, and Som, the clutch king in this game, pulls off another. And NRG, they have finally found their way to 12, but
mean-
now they need just a little more over to get to the finish line.
Sully, imagine the swing. Michael goes lower, and then you just have
Oh.
two completely different angles for the peak. I mean, that could
Would've
have
been
been
insane.
so much more different for Gen.G. But instead for this one, I don't think their momentum is really halted by any means, but this one's going to be tough. NRG, they have all the bodies
no.
in the front of sight. Shanks has been so successful in these sorts of situations, but he's not going to be able to find anything. Instead now, Kusta with the ulti, gonna be able to find all that information, but still NRG with full control of this site. Except for U-Haul, however, there's one player really just ready and raring to go, and it's none other than Sean, but Sam comes back with nobody watching the back line. 3v3 now, as NRG looks to close things out with a spike going down.
Spike planted.
Revive available though here, at least for Quinn. Who can he bring in? There are no bodies near him. They need to get U-Haul control. I think that's the only place they can get a possible revive, but Infinite investing a Trailblazer. Some, a blast back to keep them away. Everything on the line here in map number 1 is Gen.G. They are trying to retake U-Haul, but they're getting nothing. They're shut down by Som and Infinite. 2 frags between the both of them. And GMD, it's his birthday and he needs a present. He needs a clutch and he's got one, but the second avails him. EU closes things out and NRG take the first map 13-8.
Man, I mean, is there really any lesson to be learned there for Gen.G? I mean, they ended up losing so many rounds early on. I mean, it looked like a pug for NRG at some points. It looked disorganized, but it just looked like they were confident most of the time. Like you said, sometimes their cockiness got the best of them, but that didn't really affect them all too much in the first half. So instead, NRG, they get that 10-2 lead. They eventually make it in 11th. Gen.G makes it back. But could that be a rude awakening for this Gen.G squad? Because Bind is definitely a map that they've had quite a bit of success in the very near past.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many question marks moving forward. I think going into this game, a lot of people saw Shanks on Yoru recently, and that was a big question mark for me, but it didn't even bring it out. I mean, so many agent composition changes, so many question marks, and a big one for me is who's going to take map number 2? We don't know. You guys don't know, so let's find out together in just a little bit.